What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the discussion episode of my Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A 1.1. I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've never done a discussion episode before, and I thought that this would be a cool opportunity to do that because those of you that have been following me on the YouTube channel and also in my Discord, I've been posting screenshots of my concept art that I've been working on for the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A that I'm prepping to do once I hit 1,000 subscribers. Now, what I've gotten to for you guys today is we're going to go through some pictures and just have a little bit of a discussion about what that ship is actually going to look like and kind of my thought process behind it. Now, I'm starting off with the Enterprise from Star Trek Beyond for a reason, because this was the base of what I did when I did the original ship on my channel, but I just slightly altered the engines, to make them look a little bit more like the Enterprise A. Other than that, I pretty much stuck with the concept art that they had for Star Trek Beyond. But, once it kind of became a thing that I was going to do a tutorial for this ship once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I just started, it just kind of started turning in my head, and I was thinking about, like, is there anything that I would want to update about this ship? And even looking at what I had done originally, even with the updated engines, like, I don't know, like, something about the ship, it just didn't feel enough to me like the Enterprise A. So we're going to be moving on to the next picture here, which is, of course, the Enterprise A. So there's certain characteristics that I wanted to take over or pull from this ship, specifically the pylons. I love how they arch back on this ship, and like the color pattern that they have going on here is just a pretty design. Now, in today's standards, like they could have made the ship is kind of a little bit oddly proportioned the way the neck is to the lower hull and a couple of things like that. Not like I'm knocking the ship. At heart, this is my favorite ship in Star Trek ever, so I can't really knock it at all. But I want to have a little bit of fun with this build, so I feel like there's a couple more things that we can incorporate from this build that's going to be pulled from this Enterprise into our Enterprise 1.1. So I know that for certain I want to take this color palette here that's going along the top side of the lower hull, as well as the engines arching backwards. Also, to see if I can get maybe just something that's a little bit more classic with the designs of the engines, but also still updating them in a way that feels new, which is something that was hard to do. Now, I'm going to go to the next picture, and I had found a concept art that somebody had done of basically the Excelsior, and they used the Vengeance as a base. And what I basically got out of this, and you're probably going to notice how familiar the engines are, because I basically used the same shape in more or less this line right here. I actually photoshopped these engines and I made a bunch of changes to them with the final ship that you'll see here. But I saw those engines and I was like, man, like they look a lot like the Constitution refit. Maybe not so much from the front or from the bottom, but from the side here. This is the main thing that I'm looking at. And so anyway, that got my mind working, and I wanted to figure out a way that I can basically fuse this picture and the previous two pictures together. And this was my first rendition that I came up with. I decided that I didn't want to have a straight neck in the front, so I decided to curve it a little bit, and this is more or less the neck from the 2009 Enterprise. I thought it was a little bit more better proportioned with the ship. And this main focus at this point was the pylons and the engines. As you can see in this screenshot, the engines are the pylons are definitely going at an angle backwards, but the back piece here, it feels like it's a little bit too big. So I wanted to play with that just a little bit and see what else I can do with the engines themselves, and maybe mess with the detailing a little bit more. Notice also for the torpedo launcher here, I made that a little bit more prominent as to how, because they made it actually very small on the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise A. So Oh, and I got a new subscriber. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel, Christopher Patrick. Definitely appreciate you for checking out my channel. That's pretty awesome, and that happened while I was recording live. But anyway, moving on, we're going to go into the next screenshot. Now, this is much more of a classic Enterprise, I think, but, you know, and I did this just as like a, pretty much like an exploratory concept. I wanted to see what using modern pieces would look like, but keeping the ship completely classic at the same time. I had actually seen somebody else do something very, very similar to this, and I don't know, like, I don't think it looks bad. I'm sure that somebody's going to be like, man, that's the ship that you should do. But I don't know, something about this back piece here, it just doesn't really fit. And I had actually done another one that I did not save. I wish I had it because I would have shown it today. But it was more or less the same thing, but it didn't have these struts on the front and back connecting the pylon to the lower hull. And that's another thing I was kind of thinking about too, because I remember when I was a kid and I used to build this model, and if you ever had built the Enterprise refit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These pieces, going back to the original one, if you've ever tried to glue these onto the ship, man, you had to use the perfect amount of glue, and you had to sit there and hold that thing for about 10 minutes and like either do one at a time, or if you're doing them at the same time, you'd have to like get like a piece of string on it or something, because those things were so flimsy that if you looked at it the wrong way, they'd fly right off. So that was kind of like something I was thinking about, like, you know, I could appreciate why they did what they did here, making the pylons bigger because of how weak the practical model was. It just made sense to me, you know? So we had our first attempt here where the back end of the pylon was very big. It doesn't mesh with the rest of the ship though. And then the next picture is much more classic, but it doesn't fit with the ship in my opinion. So we'll go to the final screenshot. This is what the ship is going to look like. Pretty close to when we build this, when I hit 1,000 subscribers. Now what you can see, the biggest change here that I made in the design, going back from the first one, is that this piece right here, I lowered it down. And I have it going to where it does not impede going above the backbone of the neck. And I don't know, when I had finished this thing, I had to just sit there and look at it, and I was like, man, like, I think this is it, because I incorporated just enough of the original Enterprise as well as the Enterprise from Star Trek Beyond, and kind of fused them together. Because another thing I was trying to accomplish with this concept art was that, you know, because the other thing that got me thinking about this too is they have the new movie that they just announced, Star Trek 4, they're bringing back the Kelvin crew. And there's a reason that they haven't made a model of the Enterprise A from Star Trek Beyond. And I found this reading on the forums for Star Trek Online, because myself and a ton of people have been begging them to release the Enterprise A in Star Trek Online, and Paramount won't let them do it. Long story short, because they don't know that the Enterprise A is going to look exactly like that in the next movie. And that was another starting point that made me going down this process thinking like, okay, if they were going to refit the ship again, what could we do realistically to make changes to it that it wouldn't be super drastic, but keeping certain elements there that you could say, okay, that's the same ship, but they updated it. So that's kind of what I tried to do here, you know. I think it's just believable because the backbone of the neck, at least in the concept art, is much more elongated. The only real change that we made was that we curved the front of the neck. We made the torpedo bay launcher much bigger. And then I actually, on the front end, the nose, I gave it slightly more of a nose than what it had on the concept art. And then, of course, the pylons, we have them arching back. Still has a higher piece right here, but I also have this piece connecting going directly into the shuttle bay. It looks fantastic. And then the engines themselves, there were a few more elements I was going to add to them to make it feel more like the original Enterprise A. And I'd actually done a couple of quick edits to it, and I added a lot more elements that was on the engines of the original Enterprise A, and like nothing was just really sitting with me. So like I pretty much just added like the front grille here and a line going straight back. and maybe like this vent on the side, which I'm not sure that that's going to stay because it's going to be bulking. I'll have to see how it looks when I actually build the ship out. But this to me like screams Enterprise A, and I'm just over the moon happy with how this thing came out. And I wanted to do a video about this to go over my thought process and some of the things that I pulled from the previous ships to make this thing happen. Another piece that I really liked was this black piece right here. I pulled that from the original Enterprise A. And this is exactly what I mean when we build our ships in Minecraft. You know, you look for these small details that you can incorporate into your ship to make it much more detailed. And that's exactly what I did here, even for the concept art. You know, so even in the future when you're working on your own builds, this isn't a bad exercise to go through if you're good with either drawing or with Photoshop. Take a bunch of pictures of ships and mesh them together, because honestly what we're doing right here for this episode and what I did for this concept art is nothing different than what the producers of Star Trek have done for the past 60 years. They take pieces of other models, they chop them up, or they have extras from those ships, and they make new ones based off those pieces, you know? So I don't see any reason why we can't do the same thing here, make some changes, and have a little bit of fun with it. Trying to think of other things that I did here. You know, I added just a little bit. Let's go full screen on this so we can see it just a little bit better. You see I added just a faint blue line here going on the front of the pylon, and I even have the vents here. They're on the back. Now on the original Enterprise A, the vents go all along here, and I had actually done them on the back side here, but it didn't look right to me. So I just decided, you know, I'll have the line here in the front and then going down the back here on this underside. I even have the oversized windows down here because that is where the the arbitorium will be. Now as far as the saucer goes, the saucer I think is probably the one thing that's going to have the least amount of change in it. I think the only thing that I'm going to end up changing on the saucer is going to be the impulse engines. Now you can't see them in the picture, but one of the things that I had noticed ship to ship were, if you look at how the Enterprise looked at the beginning of Star Trek Beyond to how the Enterprise A looked at the end of very end of Star Trek Beyond, I noticed that the impulse engines look completely different. And that may not stand out to you, but to me, they had already updated those the impulse engines. So that was just kind of something that kind of stuck out to me a little bit. I was like, huh, you know, if they were doing a new ship, it would make sense at that point that the impulse engines would look more like that update, because the impulse engines that they have on the Enterprise A look more like the classic Enterprise. So that's probably going to be something else that's going to be on there that you just can't see in the concept art, that the impulse engines will match probably the very elongated impulse engines that were on the first, on the refit of the original Enterprise from that was at the very end of Star Trek Into Darkness and then the beginning of Star Trek Beyond. But this is my ship, and I'm actually very, very proud of it. I can't wait to do this thing. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments section. If you haven't, join the Discord channel. I'll have a link in the description below. Let's have a discussion about this thing. If you're excited about this, let me know in the comments section. If you can help me out, share it with your friends. Share this channel, share my videos to help me out and get some more subscribers. I definitely appreciate it, because I'm going to be holding on to this one until we hit 1,000 subscribers. However long that's going to be, whether that's 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever really it takes. I'm putting that promise out there that this is 110% going to happen. And I honestly, I really want to build this ship, you know. I'm super, super excited about it. The only thing that's stopping me from working on it right now is that I really want to dedicate my attention, as far as doing a physical build, to wrapping up the Enterprise D and then working on my next build, which it's looking like it's more than likely going to be Voyager. Voyager is the one that's currently winning out in the poll, and if you want to get involved in that poll, be sure to join the Discord. And again, I have the link in the description below. Once you do, be sure to click on Next Build Poll. You'll be able to vote on what ship you want to see me do, and I'm not going to go down the list, but I've accumulated this list based off of my top requests on YouTube. If your suggestion is not included in this build, be sure to drop a comment below, because other people do read those comments and I go off the top requests. So definitely keep that in mind. and I'm going to be doing this a lot going forward. Not every single build that I do. I am going to have builds that I'm just going to pick like, okay, I want to do this ship and I'll do it. But then there's going to be a lot of other builds like I'm going to be doing right now, where the next build is going to be based off popular request. So that's what I've got going on today. You know, again, I'm really excited about this build. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts. And yeah, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, you can guarantee this tutorial is going to be coming out. And I cannot wait how this thing is going to end up looking in Minecraft. I think it's going to look fantastic. But anyway, just a quick episode today. I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I cannot thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you can get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend, and I'll catch you on the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comments section.